By the time you're watching this video, week 1 has already come to an end, which sucks. That's one less week of football for us in the regular season. Regardless of if you're 0-1 in fantasy, 1-0 in fantasy, or for some reason tied, I don't know if you did that or not, we all need to be making waiver wire additions this week because the season is way far from over. It's still so early in the fantasy football season, so we need to be making sure we're picking up the right guys so that we're actually still contending in the later weeks of your season. Quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. This video's got it all. Roll the intro. My number 1 top priority claim this week, Hollywood Brown is, for me, the number 1 waiver ad. If he's still available in your league, definitely go make sure you add Hollywood Brown, as he currently leads the NFL in receptions at the time of me recording this. Hopefully there's no Monday Night Football magic where someone has 11, 12 catches. And being that we know Xavier Worthy is now considered day-to-day, sure, we're not going to have Hollywood Brown's 16 targets over the course of 8 to 10 weeks this year, but while Rashee Rice is still gone, you're getting a very capable starting wide receiver, and there's no pathway that says he can't be good when Rashee Rice comes back. There's no pathway that says he still can't get action, still can't get targets when Xavier Worthy comes back as well. I really would have thought, even though last year this wasn't the case when Rashee Rice went down, with no Rashee Rice, no Xavier Worthy, I thought for sure Travis Kelce would step up to the plate. And it was Juju Smith-Schuster and Hollywood Brown. Those that play in the very deep leagues, you could take a shot on Juju Smith-Schuster, but this is more so for my players in a 10 to 12 man league. If Hollywood Brown is available, go use, remember, this is not a break the bank kind of player. Use 5-6% of your FAAB. Try to get a nice bid. He's not a long-term piece, but can definitely help you in the next few weeks if you need help at wide receiver. Ever so slightly under that, I have Keenan Allen of the LA Chargers, who looked phenomenal in São Paulo, Brazil. Even though we know Ladd McConkey is the slot receiver for this offense, Keenan Allen got a lot of opportunity out of the slot, something we saw work very well in Chicago, as we don't really have Keenan Allen in his prime, we have his later years. He's still very dominant and effective out of the slot. If the Chargers continue to use him like that, he can be a borderline flex play every week or a bye week fill-in that you need to have on your roster. If Keenan Allen's not available, you could go ahead and take a chance on Quentin Johnston as well. This is where we get to the flyer wide receiver range. We have Kayshon Boutte, who I'm not saying is going to be the guy that wins this job. I still think Hunter Henry is a little bit over every other wide receiver in this room. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I didn't love what I saw from any Patriots wide receiver, particularly last week against the Vegas Raiders. But what I will tell you is that I think Kayshon has just as good of a chance as the people who took a late round flyer on Pop Douglas, or the same ones that took a chance on Stephon Diggs. It's kind of a mixed bag here. So why don't you just go get the guy that's available in, I don't know, almost 100% of your fantasy leagues? Sure, Pop Douglas isn't going to have negative yards and a touchdown every game and still make it work. He's going to have some stats as well. But in week 1, he saw 8 targets and was on the field for over 80% of the offensive snaps. So they obviously trust him enough to keep playing him out there. We need to trust him enough to go ahead and use just a little bit of our FAAB if we have to, or wait till we could just pick him up for nothing. I didn't love too many players at the running back position this week on the waiver wire, but one that sticks out is definitely Trey Benson. But I will be honest, I'm not as high as everyone else is on him. Even though James Conner completely outsnapped him, he did see 40% of the rushing opportunities last week between the two running backs. So at least we know when he's out there on the field, Trey Benson's being used. But it feels more than anything that this is a premier handcuff. If you are in the market of, I'm afraid that I don't have running back insurance later in my season in week 12 when one of my guys gets hurt, or I need to sub someone in on a bye week. Maybe you have one or both of Christian McCaffrey, Devon Achane. You're going to have a late bye week. You can take Trey Benson knowing that he may end up winning the job if something happens to James Conner. In terms of standalone value, I think Trey Benson absolutely has no standalone value, so I'm not trying to make this assumption that he's going to be a borderline flex play if you add him, but there's no denying that if he can start eating into the snap share of James Conner, you have a real chance to have something special here with Trey Benson. But James Conner, very reliable, is usually durable, can stay healthy over the course of a full season, it's going to be tough to get that opportunity. But if it happens, you just struck gold if you got him. If you're going to throw a FAAB bit on him, I'd say use about a little more than I would for the wide receivers. If you were going to use 6% on a Hollywood Brown or a Keenan Allen, maybe I would consider using 8% max on Trey Benson. Again, this is not somebody that is 100% going to even play for us in fantasy, but it's the idea of having the running back insurance so that if something were to throw a wrench into your season, you have Trey Benson to kind of keep you going. While we're talking about running backs, let's stay on that page and talk about Dylan Sampson, who looks currently to be the RB1 of the Cleveland Browns for the time being. This is all dependent on when Juwan Johnson inevitably comes back to this offense. We know the Browns spent a second round pick on him, so there's a reason to believe that at some point he will be the workhorse back at some point. But last week he was the running back getting most of the carries, so I apologize for saying start Jerome Ford. But I don't want you to go all in and spend all of your FAAB or a good chunk of your FAAB on this player, because like I said, with Juwan Johnson on his way back, we really don't know what to make of the Cleveland Browns backfield. It's kind of scary, but obviously running backs don't grow on trees. Dylan Sampson is a commodity that we are going to need at some point in fantasy, so we better roster him up if he's available while we can. Now let's talk tight end position. If you want someone safe, you want a low floor, going to get you some catches in PPR, but probably won't get you a touchdown because that's how it's been lately. Hunter Henry is a solid tight end for those that maybe George Kittle got hurt. I drafted George Kittle. Maybe you drafted Brock Bowers. I love drafting Brock Bowers this summer. So this is my area of expertise, the low budget tight ends. We're going to figure this out right here, right now. Until we see this Patriots offense get any better, I cannot say that Hunter Henry has real upside to score touchdowns, but will definitely catch 4 or 5 passes a week. But do you want somebody who's going to get you 4 catches for 40 yards and that's it? If the answer is no, and you're looking for someone with a little bit of touchdown upside, just a little bit, not too much. Brenton Strange of the Jacksonville Jaguars had the most receptions for them last week and looks like a pivotal part of their offense. We expect the Jacksonville Jaguars to be better than what they were a year ago. More touchdowns, more opportunities for them. I understand week 1 was not as expected for them in terms of getting points on the board for the offense, but we do understand and believe that there are better days ahead for this offense. So going ahead and throwing a waiver claim or a little bit of your FAAB or waiting around to grab Brenton Strange could potentially be great for you in fantasy because you're getting a guy who has some touchdown potential. You're getting a guy who is guaranteed to get some targets and receptions from his quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, as we've seen him hyper target Evan Ingram, and now the same thing with Brenton Strange over the last 2 years. Brenton Strange, for what it costs, really could benefit you in fantasy, especially if you're someone that needs a tight end like me. And finally, the wild card. You don't really know what you're going to get out of this one, but I'm going to say you're going to have more games of 6 receptions and no touchdown than you are 3 receptions, 4 receptions, and a touchdown. Juwan Johnson, might I suggest, is a great add at the tight end position. With Spencer Rattler throwing hospital balls to Olave and Rashid Shaheed being the only vertical downfield threat they have and not much of an intermediate guy, the only one that they can have catch passes over the middle of the field, and this feels just like the Miami Dolphins last year when I said draft Jonnu Smith, is this feels like a guy that's going to get 6, 7, 8 catches per week because there's nobody else to throw to in this offense. If you play in a PPR league and this guy is available and you want to go balls to the wall and have the upside to win a title because you're lacking at this position, I think Juwan Johnson is someone that gets that done, truthfully. I don't love the offensive situation, but if he's running the same amount of routes as the wide receivers on this team, gets more targets than the wide receivers on this team, why would I not add Juwan Johnson and put Juwan Johnson in my starting lineup? Even going back to last season, when Taysom Hill went down, the Juwan Johnson opportunities and touchdowns started to go up, and it's going to be the same way this year in 2025. Lastly, the quarterback position. The 2 quarterbacks that really stuck out to me over the weekend, and it's not just because they had one good game over the weekend, is the addition of both of Daniel Jones and Aaron Rodgers with new coordinators that benefit them to the highest degree. Arthur Smith and his run-first ideology and run-first mentality was actually not even given the opportunity to even run the football because they had to keep up in a shootout with the Jets, which was crazy to even think of. But Arthur Smith having an offense going forward in the future, even though week 1 was not like this, where we can limit the amount of times Aaron Rodgers throws the ball and keep it to closer closer to 30 than above 40. You're still going to get the 2 to 3 touchdowns that peak Aaron Rodgers could deliver, but you're just not going to have the yardage to go with it. But that's fine. We want the touchdowns anyway. The touchdowns get us the points. And if you're really looking for points, if you're really looking for the fantasy upside, then it's Daniel Jones with his rushing upside. This is definitely a player that I did not want to draft on my fantasy football team, and I'll acknowledge I didn't want to draft Daniel Jones. That's okay. Call me crazy. I always like Shane Steichen for Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones gets to thrive in this system because Shane Steichen had a player with somewhat similar tools to him. Do not get triggered at me or fight me in the comments over this. But Shane Steichen had Jalen Hurts, who was a quarterback that can run outside of the pocket and when he wanted to, throw a ball 25, 30 yards in the air or dump it off, pepper the middle of the field to the tight end. And what did we see last weekend? We saw Tyler Warren get absolutely peppered with targets. That got me all excited. That got me thinking like this is 2021 Dallas Goedert all over again when I'm watching this tape. If I had to pick one quarterback over the other, it's Daniel Jones for the rushing upside. No doubt about it. But you guys let me know in the comments, did I miss out on any of these players? Are they all taken in your leagues already? Because if so, then you gotta let me know in the comments because I can't have you going into week 2 not adding a single player from this video. If you like this video, make sure you smash that like button for your boy. I would truly appreciate that. It means the absolute world to me. That's all the time I have for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Turtle. This is Outlier Fantasy, and I will see you in the next video. Wow, you stuck to the end of this video? Thank you so much. If you're new here, make sure you check out one of these videos on the screen right now. And don't forget before you leave, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any fantasy football videos on this channel. And that's all I got for you guys. I'll see you in the next one.